Welcome back. This is chapter 2 of the VW Bug Chronicles, and today's episode we're going to put a new coil in Myrna here. Hopefully the coil will bring us the spark we need to bring the engine to life, and she'll be purring like a kitten once again. I purchased the coil earlier this week, and today's the day. Well, anyway, without further ado, let's just get after it. Let's get this bonnet opened up here. Okay, so as I was saying, we need to change the coil, and the coil... Wait a minute. Hey, Sancho! Sancho! Where's the engine? What? Really? It's in the back? It's a rear engine? Okay. Oh! Man, I bumped my head again. I do that all the time. But I did learn something. It turns out, early Type 1 VWs, the engine is in the rear, not up here in the front. Who knew? Well, apparently everybody. But anyway, to the rear we must go. All right. Here is the back. Open up the rear bonnet here. And there is the air-cooled engine. Now, I looked up the serial number of this engine, and it begins with AB, which tells me that it's a non-USA engine, Canadian. Now, I don't know if that means that this Bug was produced in Canada, sold in Canada, and came to America at some point, but the pink slip said it was first sold in 1970. My hunch is it's the original engine to the car, because if someone had changed an engine out, what are the odds that they would have placed, an engine from from like 70, 71. It would be a newer engine. But based on that serial number and the fact that it's Canadian, supposedly it's a 1300 cc. This is a dual port. To be honest, I don't know. This may not be the original engine to the car, or it may just be, the block itself has been bored, changed. Who knows over the last 50 years. I will tell you, it does have a good bit of pep, but today we're just here to focus on the coil. Again, I don't know that this is the original coil from 1971. It seems unlikely. This certainly isn't a new coil. So we're going to pull it off that fan housing or shroud and put the new coil on. And yes, as you can see, someone has removed all the heating tubing and whatnot to make room for the current exhaust system that is on it. It does not have the pea shooter exhaust any longer. As you can see, some changes were made. But let's get after this coil, and hopefully the new coil will provide the spark we need to bring this beast to life. Okay, so some of you cats may be asking, what is a coil? Well, I suppose technically we should call it an ignition coil, or maybe called a spark coil. But basically it's an induction coil in the electrical system of a car. And what it does is it transforms the battery voltage into, well, really thousands of volts that are needed to create an electric spark in the spark plugs. And the spark plugs, of course, ignite the fuel in the cylinders, which force the pistons down. Really a key ingredient in an internal combustion engine. So an ignition coil is really a critical component of any internal combustion engine. So there you have it. All right, so we've got the old coil off. You can see those connections are actually quite dirty. We're gonna pull off those pins, slides, clean them up, and there's our new coil. We will clean all this up and put it back together and see what happens. All right, so as you can see, new coil, old coil. We cleaned up the connectors. One thing I might point out, remember this is a German automobile, so most everything will not be standard, it will be metric. Just something to keep in mind. As you can see, the new coil has been installed. We cleaned up the bracketry, we cleaned up the contacts, so hopefully we'll get a spark and she'll start. Let's see. Reattach the battery, and as you can see, the speedometer light is on, even though the key is in the off position. Now, when I open the door, the buzzer is going to go off telling me that the key is still in the position. You'll hear it in just a moment. There's the buzzer, nice and annoying. Now, in theory, when I pull this key, the buzzing should have stopped. It has not. So that's perplexing. And as I mentioned before, one of the things, that key is still in the off position, and as you can see, the parking lights are on. It's hard to see here, as well as the tail lights and the license plate light. They're all on, and they should not be. That's one of our challenges. But before we get to that, let's just see if the coil, if she'll start now. All right. One positive is the generator and oil light are not on. They used to be. So we've switched the key to the on position. As you can see, the dash lights went out. Now we're getting ready to start. Couple of pumps. Not good. She's not starting. So it was not the coil. That's a bummer. Okay. That's $35 that may have been misspent, but the one thing we do know now is that we have a brand new coil that should be working. So now we have to figure out why there's no spark. Next up, maybe the voltage regulator, maybe spark plugs, who knows? Okay, so it appears it was not the coil that was preventing the vehicle from starting. So as we mentioned before, we have fuel, air, and spark. So maybe it's not getting fuel. Now, a quick way to check that is I've got some starter fluid. If I squirt it right down into the carburetor, it should fire. If it doesn't, then we go back to some sort of sparking problem. Maybe the generator. I don't know. Very perplexing. So I pulled off the air cleaner. We're going to try some starting fluid, give it a crank, and try to eliminate a possibility of why she's not starting. Wish me luck. So the starting fluid did not work. Shocking, but true. So we have to move on to our next possibility, which my guess is still spark. So distributor, points, condenser, maybe there's a resistor. I'm gonna have to do some more reading, maybe the voltage regulator. Oh, I think the car would start without that, but so the journey continues. But I would say for the moment, this is gonna conclude chapter 2 of the VW Bug Chronicles. Hope you stay tuned. We'll just keep moving along here till we figure it out. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember, in this world, when you can be anything you want, you be kind, you be humble, you be forgiving, and you be melting snow. Bye-bye.